Hey everyone, before we get started, we want to give a shout out to our special guest Cosmo, the Frederator Network member who's going to be stepping in this week for Cartoon Conspiracy. And after this video, you should go visit his channel Cosmodore, where he's constantly putting out new cartoon-related videos. He recently put out some spooky theme-type stuff ahead of Halloween, so if you're like me and refuse to let Halloween die, you should go check him out. Alright, that's enough of my yammering, so without further ado, here's Cosmo with a Star versus theory.
If there's an animated show out there that managed to consistently keep us on our toes, it's Star vs. the Forces of Evil, and the third season was no exception. What started out as a simple comedy-driven cartoon slowly transformed into something way deeper and more intense. Over the course of its run, we have seen many Forces of Evil come and go, with some being more obvious choices for big bads than others. I mean, could you honestly have guessed that Heinous would be at the center of attention anytime soon? And one theory we have found particularly intriguing could potentially change the very dynamic of the main characters themselves. That's right everyone, today we discuss if Marco Diaz could actually be the show's main antagonist. My name is Cosmo with Channel Frederator, and this is Cartoon Conspiracy. Now before we go ahead, I do have to give a small spoiler warning for Season 3, but since that one ended a while ago, we're just gonna go ahead and dive right in. Now the first piece of evidence for this theory is a classic bit of color theory that we've applied in a few of our past conspiracies. Marco can be seen wearing a red hoodie in the show, red of course being a color closely associated with war, power, malice, and anger. And this ultimately proves that Marco is the true bad guy in the show. Thanks for watching. No. We are fully aware that this theory sounds just too ridiculous to be true at first glance. I mean, when we were first introduced to Marco in the series premiere, he didn't even know about Star's existence. And if anything, seeing as how Star has kept Marco's sweater for an entire episode later on, that would actually imply that he's the one who's truly evil. But on top of that, so far there hasn't been any indication of spite towards any other character in the show coming from him. Well, except for all the monsters, of course. And Ponyhead.
Retard.
And Jeremy. Freaking Jeremy. But just like we've discussed in a theory on whether Eclipser could actually be evil, it is entirely possible that, despite Marco's fairly positive attitude, he might turn into a baddie eventually. And now that we've brought up everyone's least favorite rich kid already, why don't we go back to the first episode Jeremy appeared in, Season 1's Monster Arm. In the episode, we see Marco, in preparation for his upcoming karate tournament, accidentally breaking his arm. Star then replaces his broken arm with an alien tentacle creature thing that both turns him into a karate master and a bit of a prick. And only with Star's help is he able to get rid of the villainous tentacle for good. Or so you think. Just as the monster is about to fully retrieve back into Marco's arm, he says that he wasn't actually defeated and that the monster will now be a part of Marco forever. While we have yet to see an actual return of this character, it is definitely an explanation for why Marco was able to pull off so many tricks with it without any real repercussions. Like punching through locked doors and right through Toffee's skin, which can't be pleasant. Let's fast forward a bit to the Blood Moon Ball, where Marco is told by an ominous voice to follow Star to the ball because it's the moon of lovers. Where it just so happens that Star's and Marco's souls are now bonded forever, which isn't something all us Star worshippers just made up. It is literally referred to as exactly that. Their souls are now actually bonded, which could be a good thing for the two of them, but not only does it prevent Marco from pursuing any relationship other than with Star, but it also makes me wonder who exactly told Marco to go to the dance. We've seen in the episode Page Turner that Marco is very easily affected by the influence of dark magic and seen him gullible on numerous occasions, so it would make sense for some evil spirit to have chosen him as a surrogate or a puppet. That would imply that the Blood Moon is in fact less of a blessing and more of a curse, which would also explain why Tom, a literal demon, was so keen on getting Star to go to the dance with him, because he knew there would be no escape from its spell. The Crescent Moon is seen throughout the rest of the show anytime Marco and Star have a more serious moment, or in the case of the episode Bonbon the Birthday Clown, to virtually tell him to look after Star, as if a voice inside him told him to do so. And not to mention, he did so without so much as acknowledging Jackie's existence, the girl he kissed just seconds earlier. The most interesting occurrence of the Crescent Moon is in the episode Deep End, where Jenna and Marco are discussing how to get Star not to sleepwalk anymore, and in doing so decide to hypnotize her and follow her along in her dreams. But the signal is lost as Star enters a mysterious portal, and so Marco decides to use the spell of the All-Seeing Eye to try and find her, which forces him to use Star's wand. At first the wand doesn't respond to Marco, but then he gets flung into the air, the wand transforms, and crescent moon-shaped marks appear on his cheeks. That's odd. As you all know, the markings are usually reserved for members of the butterfly family, which Marco can't exactly be considered a part of. On top of that, these particular cheek marks haven't appeared on any other characters. However, they do make one appearance in Photo Booth where Marco and Star share their first kiss. Coincidentally, this episode also features a blood red crescent moon, sealing the connection between these two events. So let's just assume for a moment that the blood moon is a curse on Marco. Who would want to possess him and why? Well, the first suspect has got to be Eclipse. She was introduced as the black sheep of the royal family, a truly evil princess of dark magic. She's the possible antagonist of the 3rd season and maybe even the 4th, which her return to her monster husband Globgar may have implied. Unfortunately though, there are 2 simple reasons as to why she can be rolled out as the evil mastermind behind this. One, when she was introduced to us, she didn't know of Marco's existence and therefore couldn't preemptively have selected him as a surrogate. And 2, well, she has been trapped in ice for more than just a few minutes, kind of a dead giveaway. Ludo, Tom, and Haynes could probably be ruled out too, just because they were never shown to have any plans beyond what was shown on screen, and also wouldn't have any reason to want to take control of Marco. But you know who fits that description perfectly? Well, Toffee, of course. Surprise! Oh man, that was awful. Let's not do that again. My throat, guys. Toffee is not only the most sinister and smartest villain we've seen, but he has been shown to have connections to Marco. For example, in the episode Storm the Castle, Marco is shown looking into a mirror on top of a rack with Toffee's usual attire. And Marco is shown wearing the same outfit in a dream sequence in the episode Red Belt. In the same dream sequence, the land around the locker Marco finds himself in is an ominous green, as if to imply Toffee is present there as well. And not only that, in Storm the Castle, Toffee says that Marco was a disappointment to him, as if he had some expectations in him. Either he wanted Marco to help him with whatever secret plan he may have had in the background, or he wanted to see Marco's evil side take over. But instead, Marco punched right through Toffee's skin at the end of Battle for Muni, probably ruining any sort of allegiance they may have formed. Also, Toffee is dead. That might make things a little difficult. So let's just assume it was Toffee who was controlling Marco all along. Why did he need Marco and not any other human on planet Earth? It could be because Marco took hold of the wand, something that no human before him was able to pull off. Granted, we did see Ludo take a hold of the wand, and just like in Marco's case, it completely changed its shape. Unlike in Ludo's case, however, this one doesn't represent the way Marco looks, like, at all. It looks more like an evil scepter. It's got a peculiar toffee skin color tint to it, an ominous ruby in the middle, a spear piercing right through the damn thing, and wings that look oddly similar to the ones surrounding the word evil in the show's logo. Keep in mind that the wand always changes its shape based on the owner's true intentions, which we learned from when Lobster clawed the wand and when Toffee had his half. So if we assume that Marco's true intentions, the true color of his magic, gets revealed through the possession of the wand, and that the cheek marks that appear while holding it are due to him being under the influence of the Blood Moon's curse, we can conclude that Marco is truly evil inside, or at least controlled by some evil outside force. And interestingly enough, Marco was only able to take hold of the wand when he put his right hand onto it. You know, the one that is still under the influence of the monster arm, which further backs the point that he's still under its influence. Well, that was a little weird and a little wild, but how well does the theory hold up? I personally believe it to be absolutely possible that Marco was actually either evil all along, or at least possessed by some evil outside deity that wants to exploit his connection to Star. Whether that's just the monster arm, Eclipse, Toffee, or a whole other character we haven't met before doesn't really matter, because really it's Marco that has all the makings of a potentially evil character. He's been let down by Star many times, and even though he even became a squire, he's rarely rewarded for that. Him switching over to the dark side would pull a potential 180 on the show, and I could totally imagine Star having to fight against him to turn him back to the good side. Most of this, of course, is still just my silly personal headcanon, but even with all the information we have so far, there are many layers on which this theory could prove to be true. For example, one other theory states that the crescent moons on Marco's cheeks don't actually appear because he's under the influence of the Blood Moon, but rather because he was a member of the royal family all along. If you were to assume that to be true, it would make his interactions with Toffee all the more interesting. And since we all know that the royal family isn't at all true-blooded anymore, it would also make sense that Marco was able to use the wand without any obvious repercussions. An early sign that even peasants are able to use it. And as for the shape of the wand, well, that sure doesn't look like the wand of a good guy to me. Whatever the future may have in store for our favorite Princess Georgina, we can count on some sort of relationship development between him and Star. And for every possible evidence, there's arguments against the theory, but I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility. So I'm gonna give this theory 2.5 crescent moons out of 5. Now we want to hear from you guys. What do you think about this conspiracy, and what would you like us to look at next? Let us know in the comments, and if you want to see more of my face, you can do so on my YouTube channel or stalk me on Twitter, because I spend too much time on there. That's all for today, but don't forget, Frederator loves you.